When I came into the house with my groceries, my housemate, he wasn't in the kitchen initially. He was spinning in the dining room. He was spinning. And I was wondering why he was spinning, but come to find out he had drank 12 beers. And I'm being serious. Like, hey guys, what's up? It's me, Sade, and I'm coming here with a story time. I haven't done one of these in a really, really long time. As you can see by this title, this is a very maybe triggering title or something of the sort, but this is real shit. And the reason the title is titled as such is because of particular reasons that I will break down as I tell this story. So if you're interested, stay along for the story. If not, click off the video. Simple. So I believe I'm naming the title of this video What Happens When a Black Woman, White Housemates, and your Latino neighbors get into an argument. Okay, I think that's what I'm naming this video. So this happened last year around the time that I was still living in Santa Barbara. It's becoming so clear to me. Around the time that I was still living in Santa Barbara, California. If you guys don't know, I actually moved back to New York, and there will be a story time for that too, because I know you guys are wondering what the fuck has been going on. I know. So yeah, this happened around this time, maybe like the ending of August, beginning of September. That's what I remember, because it was still very warm outside. And I had just got off the bus from leaving the supermarket to buy some groceries. Now, where I lived was more so the suburban part of town and not like the more active metropolitan part of town. So when I got off the bus, and thankfully the bus was right across the street from my house, I walked across the street and I saw this homeless guy sitting like a house away from my house, like just outside, like sitting. And it was hot. When I tell you, it was so hot this day, so hot. And where I was, like where I live, homeless people aren't usually there. They're usually on the more metropolitan part of town. And oddly enough, this town was very affluent, but there were so many homeless people. And I did hear that, California in general is a place that homeless people like to go because the weather is pretty consistent. They don't have to deal with harsh winters, things of the sort and stuff. But homelessness in that town particularly was so like heavily stricken that it really like shocked me, because it's such a scenic, very like posh kind of place. But that's neither here nor there for right now. So anyways, I see this homeless guy. He's sitting outside. It's like scorching hot. It's like 4 or 5 o'clock. So I'm getting closer, and when I get closer, I do realize that it's a man and whatnot. So I ask him, I'm like, oh, are you okay? And stuff like that. And of course he wasn't okay, but I don't know. That's like instinctual to be like, oh, are you okay? And stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, I'm okay. And stuff like that. I'm just sitting here or whatever. And I was like, well, I'm going to go get you some water. And then I started like walking a little bit. And then I was like, oh, are you hungry? I can make you something to eat. Now, at the time, I was a vegetarian, so I only ate like veggie burgers and things of the sort. So he did say that he was thirsty, and I imagined he was. Even if he said he wasn't, I was still gonna go get him some water because it was extremely hot outside. So I go into the house, and I go put my groceries down, and my housemate is in there. One of my Caucasian male housemates are in there, and I go in there and I get the water, and then I start. He was cooking on the stove. Sorry, I'm trying to like recollect everything. He was cooking on the stove, and then I started to prepare things, like take things out to cook so that I could make it for myself and for the man that was outside. So I bring him back 2 bottles of water, and when I went back outside, I was speaking to the guy for quite a bit, and I could tell that he wasn't like all mentally there, which is oftentimes the case with people who deal with homelessness, which is so unfortunate, but again, a story for another time. So he was just telling me about like some heartbreak that he was going through, and it seemed like just an older trauma that kind of like cycles in and out of his life, and maybe it's created a lot of instability, I would say. But my neighbors, across the street, who were Latino, and let me also say this, where I lived was very heavily Latino dominated, which is fine, which is cool. Like, I fuck with the Latinos fuck with me. I never had no problems with them ever. So and we'll get into why there was an issue. So anyways, my 2 Latino, one of the Latino guy, I didn't get his name, that's why I'm saying Latino. guys across the street. He saw me talking to this guy, but he couldn't really tell or make out what was happening. So he came across the street and he was like, he saw what was going on and stuff like that, and then he assisted to help and stuff like that. So I brought the water and stuff like that. Then the guy from across the street, my Latino neighbor, he comes across the street. Then his uncle comes across the street. So it's like a nice little like communal thing happening here where we're just trying to like help make sure things are going well and stuff like that. So I leave and I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna leave real quick. I'm gonna go in the house and make him something to eat and come back. So they're like, oh, okay. So they're there and they're just talking to him. I don't know what happens because I go in the house and I start making the food. So when I go into the house, I start preparing the veggie burger that I was eating. I don't even remember what brand. It doesn't matter. And I was having a conversation with my housemate and stuff. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's so weird. I see this homeless guy. He's, just sitting like outside the house, basically. And I was like, usually they are downtown and stuff like that. And he was just telling me how he doesn't really feel bad for the homeless because he sees all these videos about, homeless people like, pretending to be homeless for profit and stuff like that. And in my head, a lot of the times while living in this house with all of these Caucasian people, and I'm not saying that to connotate it in a negative way, I find that I just had to have open ears and a hushed mouth. And not because I was scared to talk about what it is that I was feeling, but because I did not have the energy to be combative with people or to share my views oftentimes with people to whom I knew we were just going to see differently. That's it, and there's a lot of like learning to be done in spaces like that where you and another person are going to see differently. But I didn't feel like learning with these people because it was unnecessary to me, especially being that this is my home. Like I come here and I live with these people. I don't need to be having conflicts here. If this is school where we can have like political stances and things of the sort, cool. But being that I lived here and I need somewhere to rest my head at night and to feel comfortable and to feel safe, I had to have a hush mouth. And I know there's so many different things that make that situation so wrong, but if you've ever been in my situation, then you probably understand. So we're talking and he says all this stuff or whatever, and in my head I'm just like, oh, okay. Anyways, so I'm still making the food. So I make the food and I had a ceramic plate. I didn't bring it out on the house that I lived in was very for the most part very health conscious, very food conscious and stuff like that. And I tried to, go along those guidelines because, it's economical and just it's better for the world in general. So I brought a ceramic, and my point is that we didn't have plastic plates around the house like that. We didn't. Just lots of Tupperware and lots of like old plates and stuff like that everyone just recycled and things of the sort. So I brought a ceramic plate that we didn't really use in the house like that to bring the food outside for the guy. And I saw that my neighbors across the street had also brought some food for the guy as well. So we're out there, we're chopping it up, we're all talking. I'm like, oh, you guys are so nice. Like, thanks for like helping. Like, you guys didn't have to, that's so sweet. And in my head, I'm like, man, this is really good because like at the time I had already been living there for about a year, and I didn't really make my house was like, the way the property was set up was that like there's like a house and then a house behind it and then a house behind it and then a house behind it, all on the same property. So my house was all the way in the back, so I couldn't really see who my neighbors were, like the way a regular person who just lives in a town could see their neighbors because their house is like right next to each other. So when they came, I was like, I don't know, I felt warmer. I felt like, this is cool. And then they were people of color. I'm people of color. Like, there's already connection and stuff like that or whatever. And also they had like an energy that I really, really liked. So I bring them the food and then I leave because it's getting a little dark and I was so hungry and I didn't get a chance to cook for myself. So I left the ceramic plate with the man. And, the neighbors were still there talking to him. So I left and I went in the house and I started cooking and all this type of stuff. I cooked my food and I went upstairs into my room. Now, the way my room was set up, my room was in the front of the house, even though my house was in the back of the property. But my room was right above the front door, so I could hear everything that's like happening outside. And mind you, again, it was a very nice day outside this day. So this is where it starts getting stupid and crazy. So I go upstairs after I eat my food, and I'm like eating and I'm chilling. I'm like talking on the phone with my friend or something like that or whatever. And I remember also, I forgot to say this key point. When I came into the house with my groceries, my housemate, he wasn't in the kitchen initially. He was spinning in the dining room. He was spinning. And I was wondering why he was spinning, but come to find out, he had drank 12 beers. And I'm being serious, like, and I quote, 12 beers. That's how much beers he drank. And he wasn't a drunk or anything like that, but when he did get drunk, he was like very white boy wasted, I would say, oftentimes. Like, not in a way where he, like, you'd have to take care of him, but it was just like he would be like more aggressive. Like, when he got drunk, he was like there's always different types of drunk. He was more so like an angry, like aggressive drunk or whatever. Never towards me or anything like that, but like if a situation didn't deserve so much energy, he would put a lot more energy into it, or he'd be like super bubbly and happy. Like, there was no in between of like just complete solace and calm and just like a cool, fun drunk. So yeah, there was that. So anyways, I'm upstairs and I I hear my gate open, the gate to get into the property open, and my housemate who drank those 12 beers was on the porch. He was on the veranda, and some I don't even know exactly what happened because I was just listening, but and the of course there's some sort of interference because my room is upstairs, and then my window was kind of like only cracked, so I could only hear but so much. But my neighbor had opened up the gate to come and bring back the plate that I had forgot, and I honestly just left it there because I figured that, I don't know, I just figured that I would go get it later in the morning or something like that because I didn't want to interrupt whatever it is that the homeless man was doing. So my kind neighbor, he comes to bring back the plate, and my housemate, he's out there by himself on the veranda after drinking those 12 beers, doing what I do not know, doesn't matter, his house as well. And when the my Latino neighbor opens up the gate, he's like, um my neighbor is like, "Oh, I'm here to bring this plate," but I guess he said it kind of low. And then my housemate like was completely like like his whole energy towards it, like I could hear what was going on, but I can't really like tell you exactly what was said, but I just know that his energy towards my neighbor was so nasty and negative. Like, it was so nasty and negative. And again, like, when he drinks, he be getting mad aggressive, his energy just don't be like cool. Like, it's not some energy that you can really fuck with type shit. So he's like saying something. So the neighbor is like, all right, what's the problem? Like, I'm just here to bring the plate. Like, this is what he said. He was like, oh, does a girl named Sade live here? And then my housemate was like, why are you asking that? Or something like that. Like, oh, why are you asking? And he was like, I'm just here to bring back a plate. She brought a plate. And then I just know my housemate said something that was just like completely uncalled for. So of course my Latino neighbor got mad. So then, I hear voices starting to raise, and they're really starting to get into it. But by this time, I had like, my ears had kind of like numbed it out because I was getting so tight, because I was like, why is all of this happening when simply my neighbor is just trying to bring a plate? And initially, and this is why the title of this video is as such, is because I was like, if he was white, like, would he have reacted so strongly? And I know that my housemate is an aggressive drunk, but I just don't feel in my heart of hearts that he would have reacted as strongly if, my neighbor wasn't a person of color. So my ears numbed it out because I'm like throwing on some pants, because I didn't have on any pants because it was so hot, and my room was the sunroom. It got so hot that I took off my pants. I threw on my pants and I came downstairs and I came outside and I was like, yo, what's the issue? And stuff like that. And then, at this time, my landlord had come and he had walked into the veranda. So honestly, I don't even really remember what happened. But when I tell you all of us were basically like screaming at each other, it just turned, when I tell you, it went sour so fucking quickly. Like, I was like, whoa, like, what the fuck happened? Like, my Latino neighbor is telling me like, yo, get your housemate. And I was like, this is the only thing that I can say. Like, I don't like that type of shit where someone's like, yo, get your mans. Get my man's for what? We're not grown people. I don't need to go handle him. You see he's not about no real energy. He's not coming here with no fighter energy. He's just going off because he's going off and he's hostile. He's a hostile person. Handle that with your words and your discernment. I don't need to handle my housemate, you know? And that's a whole man right there. Even though he's Caucasian and we connotate, you know, Caucasian people outside of like psychological and mental things, you know, in physical aspects, I think that people usually connotate Caucasian people as like weak. You know, like when it comes to fighting and stuff like that, you usually think of, you know, because of society, we think of like black people or we think of Latino people and we think of gangs and we think of, you know, all this different type of stuff. Maybe even Italian people, but we don't think of like your regular, degular like Bob. You know, that's not the name of my housemate, but we don't think of people like that. You know, so I'm like you should. I'm sure you feel fine or whatever. So, anyways, me and my neighbor start getting into it and stuff like that. And this is what he said to me that triggered me. He was like, oh, you're not the same nice girl, but he's yelling at me. He's like, oh, you're not the same nice girl that was helping the feed the homeless just an hour ago. And I was like, you're right, I'm not the same fucking bitch that was feeding the homeless an hour ago. It's called multiplicity, motherfucker. Like, if you what? And then he was like, you better watch. This is what he said. He was like, oh, and this is what got me so tight, because it was like, I was in, like, when I met him before all of this, I was like so happy. I was like, yo, like another person of color, like this is lit, like we could build a bond type of stuff, because it's lonely out there. Like in Santa Barbara, only when I left is when people of color, especially black people, started to influx in. But when I first came in 2015, when I tell you, I'd be looking around, black person, not in fucking sight. Not in fucking sight, you know? And then when there were black people in sight, they were hella whitewashed. So I felt like I was really out there by myself on my bliggity black shit, and everybody else was just like, yeah, man, and that's okay, that's cool, we can be cross-cultural, we can communicate, but it's like, when you want to like connect with people on a level where it's like you're already connected for whatever reason, it's like sometimes you're looking for that, you know, some kind of solace, something to call, you know, someone to be like, yo, my brother, you know, my sister type shit. So anyways, I was tight about like us arguing. So he's like, yeah, this is what he said. The neighbor, the Latino neighbor, he was like, you better watch it because I could get somebody. He was like, you don't understand. This is what he said. He was like, oh, you better watch it because this whole block here, San Andres, I run that. I was like, okay, call whoever you want to call. I don't care what you run. Yo, and this is why I do not like to argue with people, because I don't argue with people. But when I do, I really get really gutter and really disgusting and really vulgar. Like, don't play with me in my mouth, because I will hurt your feelings and I will make you cry. Like, quick analysis of your whole character in 30 seconds is happening in my head, and I will say the most disgusting stuff. And it's not because that's not really how my mind is programmed, but because I honestly think it's the Virgo in me, and I'm very critical of things, you know, and not judgmental in the sense that I'm not judgmental where I'll see someone who's like heavier or like bigger and be like, oh, they're fat, or oh, they're this and that, or whatever. But it's like, at the same time, if you are something, I'm gonna be like, this is what you are, you know? But it would never come down to like your sexual orientation or your race or your weight or any of these type of things, you know? But I'll probably come for things more psychological, like, you know, the way you're speaking, or, you know, the way you carry yourself, or things of the sort, you know? Which is a disgusting thing about me. I need to get that out of me and stuff. And I think for the most part, it is out of me, you know, and I only notice it when people bring it out of me. And it takes a lot. I have to be provoked significantly to be screaming and carrying on and, you know, getting ready to fight niggas and stuff like that. The crazy thing in my whole life, all my arguments are usually with niggas, excuse my language, or men, I should say. And I've only had one fight with a girl, like a physical fight with a girl. All my other fights have definitely been with men. So crazy. But I still love men. You know, I still love men. I'm still cool with men. My two biggest influences are men. Anyways, going off on a tangent, whatever. So this is already getting long. Anyways, he says all that. He was like, I'll get the block. I was like, get the block, get them bitches. I'll fight all them bitches one by one, da-da-da-da-da, and stuff like that. And then my other housemates, my other Caucasian white male housemates are watching. Guess what they do? Guess what they do? All they had to do was do that. Those three significant numbers that they like to call. 911. Guess what? They sure called it. So how does it look now that the Latino male and the black woman and the white man are all in cross controversy, causing lots of like ruckus, all throughout the property, and like I said, it's not, my property is not like a one person property. There's other people on the property, so we're going off, going crazy, all this different type of stuff. Then I remember the Latino neighbors, all his like people came, so he really did have some people, and that's cool, have your people, but it's like, I don't got no people. I'm here with these Caucasian white men. What are we, And it's like me and you are in cross controversy, and then me and my housemate are in cross controversy because I'm mad at him, because I'm like, why did you even, why was your energy like that towards him in the first place? If you would have treated him with some respect, this would have never happened. And I really, to me, it's very much, I don't want to say that he was racist, because I don't necessarily believe that he was racist, although I did have an encounter with him before where I really had to question his character to myself, like him and his like ex-girlfriend. But I don't believe that he was racist. I just believe that at times he was ignorant to certain things that could be hurtful, just even energetically. And I think a lot of white people do things oftentimes where, their energy, it can come off in a way where it's like, all right, like, what's this energy about? Is it because me and you are not of the same skin tone? Like, what the fuck is it? I don't know. Let me know, But they never want to let you know. It's always this, what's the word? They're very, what is that word? I cannot find the word right now for what it is that I'm trying to describe that white people do. And it's so passive aggressive. White people are fucking passive aggressive as fuck. And I know this because I've literally been around white people all my life. When I was in elementary school, I went to elementary school for a significant amount of years with white people. Passive aggressive. There's nothing ever that's oftentimes very blunt and upfront and very like keeping it real, with them. It's always like, you always have to tell by their energy how they're feeling. Why the fuck do I have to constantly read your energy? What the fuck is up? Just say what's going on. You don't like what's going on here? Just say it. You don't like my skin? Just say it, Even though that's not how I feel about this particular housemate, but whatever. Moving on. So guess what? The cops are called. The cops come. Oddly enough, they don't come pretty quickly. They come in like 15 minutes or whatever. So they come or whatever, and the Latino neighbors, they're across the street and they don't come, they stay in their yard, and the cops come to us and they're talking to all of us. So lo and behold, I'm there and I'm talking, it's me, the one black girl amongst all these white men, literally all white men, because I lived in a house with all white men at the time, and then all the cops that came were all white men. So I'm talking, and it's like, I don't even think they realized, my housemates who called the cops, because it was two of them who had called the cops, realized how alienated and how disgusted I felt with them and the situation at large, because it was like, here I am looking like the troublemaker because I'm black and I'm a woman, and we're the most disrespected people on the fucking planet. So I'm here, and I honestly, my whole energy was so disgusted and angry for the rest of the night. I didn't want to talk to any of them for like God knows how long, especially that particular housemate, because I was like, you don't even understand the trauma, and the trauma is kind of dragging it, but honestly, the trauma, because this is a lot of this is not the only situation that happened in that house that was traumatizing. So there are many other things where I didn't feel protected. I didn't feel, understood or just respected in many regards, where again, I did not necessarily open my mouth because I just didn't want to have I didn't want to have more pent up energy in the house, being that this is where I lay my head and I'm already across the country away from everybody. I don't have no family here. I have one good friend here, but she has a family. So I just didn't want to like, lose out on what I had, what I was creating for myself, what I was desperately trying to create for myself. So, the cops are talking to me. I say whatever to them. I'm really not giving them much of anything. And honestly, not much was solved from having the cops come. So I don't know why they called the cops, because honestly, all of what happened could have simply been solved through direct and clear communication. So yeah, that's basically what happened. I ended up seeing that neighbor on Halloween, because again, this happened in like August or September. So I ended up seeing that neighbor on Halloween at some club downtown, and why he was dancing all up on me. And I was like, "You know who I am, right?" And he was like, "Yeah, I know who you are." And then we were dancing together. So it was weird. Like, that's how we squashed our beef or whatever. And then like when I would see him afterwards, I'd be like, "Hey, what's up?" And that's the thing about, for me, like I feel like people of color, like when it comes to certain things, especially when you're like, I feel like being attractive plays a role in this. Like, I feel like when you're an attractive person, and I'm not saying this in an egotistical way about myself, but like it's easier for beef to be squashed with you because people want to be in your presence, you know? So being that he had a particular liking for me, and I sensed that from even before, because he was like talking to me in a particular kind of way when we were outside talking to the homeless guy, where I felt like he wanted to like engage in more conversation with me, but I kind of deaded that because I wasn't really interested. Not because he wasn't attractive, but because I just wasn't in a space for that. But yeah, I seen him on Halloween and we was dancing together or whatever. And then he said something to me, but I just dipped out of the club because I was out with my friend Mika, so we was just out bar hopping, all type of stuff. And then a couple months later, like maybe 2 months later, I ended up talking to my housemate again because I was honestly so disgusted. I wasn't even mad. I was just disgusted. I was really disgusted with his fucking ignorance at the time and just his drunkardness. Is that even a word? Drunkard? I think drunkard is a word. If it's not, then, correct me in the description box below. But yeah, this amongst many other things happened while I was living in California. And there's really just so much to share. And again, like, I don't do story times for commodities. I don't come here with the fucking hoo ha ha shit or whatever to make some coin. Like, everything that I'm saying is factual and it will always be factual. I'm not here entertaining y'all. I'm here sharing an experience and I'm just letting y'all know what the fuck is going on with me and just being transparent with y'all, because being transparent with y'all is being transparent with myself. And it just helps me let go of things, you know? The best way to live life fully is to let go of things that are building up in you and just making you feel toxic and making you not feel like you're fucking like a whole human being out here. So that's all I have to say. I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. I know that people might just click into this and think that this is clickbait, whatever, fuck you, don't care. If you do understand where I'm coming from, though, that's what's up. And yeah, I hope you guys are well. I'm sending lots of love, lots of light, lots of peace, and that's it. Bye.